So I've got 10 credit cards in my wallet right now, so I figured why not sit down and make a tier list ranking all of them. I'll be ranking each card on what it offers on paper, and more importantly, the actual value each card brings to my personal wallet. As always, I'd love to hear in the comments how you'd rank these cards, especially if you disagree with where I land on any of these. And one more thing before we get into it, these rankings are based on my spending habits, my point priorities, and where I currently am in my credit card journey at the mid-game stage. So if you're a beginner, these cards won't rank the exact same and very well might not be available to you yet, but they are good to keep in mind once you've built up your credit score with other cards. So let's get into it, starting with the issuer that takes up the most real estate in my wallet, Chase, who I have 5 cards with, beginning with the Chase Sapphire Reserve. This card is quite controversial, sitting at a $795 annual fee. Some people really love it because if you maximize its credits and benefits, it can far outweigh that annual fee, but others really struggle to get value out of it because it's targeted at a more luxury/high spending user. For me, I personally picked this card up a few months back to get the all-time high welcome bonus of 150,000 points. I figured I could get the bonus, which far offsets the annual fee in year 1, and then see how many of the credits I actually use to help with my decision making on whether to keep it or product change back to the $95 annual fee Sapphire prefer. Of the credits, by far, the easiest to use and best overall is the $300 travel credit that is applied to any travel purchase. This includes purchases directly with hotels and airlines, not through the Chase portal. The other credits, on the other hand, like the Edit Collection hotel credits and dining credits, are a little bit less useful in my opinion because they are harder to use. I think there is some good value, and especially in the fact that you can stack the Edit credit with the Select Hotels credit, you can find a way to get a great deal on a nice property. The card also gives lounge access and global entry pre-check credit, which are nice perks. The spending multipliers are incredible for travel specifically, with 4x points on flights and hotels booked directly, which brings me to my favorite thing about this card and Chase in general, and that is that their points currency is my favorite in my wallet because of the strong airline transfer partners, but more specifically because they have Hyatt as a transfer partner. There are also a plethora of travel protections, including primary auto rental collision damage waiver, which means when renting a car, you don't have to pay for the renter's insurance. And overall, for people who travel a lot, especially those who are more premium travelers, this card could potentially rise up to S tier, but for me, I'm going to put it in A tier. Next up, we have the Chase Freedom Unlimited. This card is pretty simple with no annual fee, and the biggest selling point is that it earns 1.5x points on all purchases. There are other things like 3x on dining and drugstores or 5x on the Chase portal, but I have other cards in my wallet that cover those categories, so I really only ever use this card for miscellaneous purchases. Even the 1.5x back as a catch-all card is not the best in my wallet, but I sometimes opt to use this instead of that other card that we'll talk about later because of how much I personally value Chase points. I also think this is one of the best cards to get early on in your journey because of how easy it is to use. So overall, this card doesn't have a lot going on, but what it does pretty well. So for me, it will go in B tier. Next up, we have its brother, the Chase Freedom Flex, which again is a no annual fee card. This card is the most hot or cold card in my wallet, and that's because its main feature is that it offers 5x back on rotating quarterly categories. Some quarters, like the current one, is really good with categories including gas, while other quarters are much worse where it's just like PayPal or something like that. So for me, some quarters this card is genuinely S tier, and some quarters it's maybe a C tier. I don't think it can ever get to a D or F tier since it's a no annual fee, so there's no harm in holding it. Overall, I think this card, when everything is taken into account, falls in B tier as well for me. Then next up, we have the original Chase Freedom card, and this card is no longer available to new applicants, but you can get it by product changing another Chase product like I did a few months back when I changed my Sapphire Preferred over to this OG Freedom card. In terms of what this card offers is that it pretty much is very similar to the Freedom Flex as its predecessor version, so it also offers 5x back on rotating quarterly categories, but unlike that card, it does not offer 3x on dining or 5x on the Chase Travel Portal. There isn't really much to say here, and because I never hit the $1,500 spending limit on the quarterly categories from the Freedom Flex, I don't really use this card much, and for me, it will slide down into D tier. My last Chase card in my wallet is on the business side, and it's the Chase Ink Business Unlimited. This was my first business credit card, and I think that was a solid decision. For one, the welcome bonus on this card is genuinely great, even though it has a higher minimum spend, And the earning rates are straightforward, with it being very similar to the Personal Freedom Unlimited, earning 1.5x points on all purchases. This card has no annual fee, and because of that, combined with this simple earning structure and high welcome bonus, I will put this card up in A tier. Now moving on to my next issuer, which is Amex, and first up we will talk about the well-known Gold Card. This card is the best credit card for food spending out there. It offers 4x on dining in US supermarkets, making it the easiest decision to use this card for food. It does come with a $325 annual fee, but there are a variety of credits, including with Uber, Dunkin', Resi, and a general dining credit to offset this annual fee. For me, I get use out of almost all those credits, and that alone offsets the annual fee for me before even accounting for all the points I'm racking up on spending with this card. For me, this is my favorite card in my wallet and the easiest to get a lot of value out of, so I'm going to be putting this one up in S tier. Moving on, we have my second business credit card, which is the Amex Blue Business Plus. This again is a no annual fee business card with a flat 2x points per dollar on all purchases. In comparison to the Ink Business Unlimited that we talked about earlier, this is technically a better points multiplier compared to the 1.5x, but again, it's earning Amex membership rewards points instead of Chase Ultimate rewards points. So for me, the card I'm using really depends on the type of point I want to be earning at that point in time. I typically do use this card more right now, but depending on the points I want to get in the future, that could change. Also worth noting is that the welcome bonus is much smaller than the Ink Business Unlimited at just 15,000 points. So overall, for me, this card will go in B tier. Now, moving on, we go to Capital One, who I have just one card with, and that is the Capital One Venture X. This card comes with a $395 annual fee, which is steep, but the credits and benefits easily offset that. For one, it comes with a $300 travel credit to use in the Capital One portal, which isn't as great as the Sapphire Reserve's travel credit, but it's still easy to use if you travel at least once a year. Then every card anniversary, you get 10,000 Capital One miles, which is at a minimum $100 if used for travel, bringing your total value to $400 already, which is $5 more than the annual fee. Then you bring in the fact that you get a global entry / pre-check credit, lounge access, and travel protections, and this card is almost a no-brainer in my opinion. So for all of those reasons, this will be the second card going up in S tier. Next up, we have Citi, where I have one card, which is the Custom Cash. I recently product changed my old Citi Double Cash to the Citi Custom Cash when it came out that Citi was discontinuing the card to new applicants, and the reason was that this card earns 5 points per dollar on your highest spend category every month up to $500, meaning that if you dedicate this card to one category, you can rack up a ton of points on it, all with no annual fee. The thing for me with this card is that I use it to earn Citi points, but I don't actually have one of the Strata cards that would allow me to use my points with Citi's transfer partners like American Airlines. I do plan on getting one of those in the not so far future, but for now, this card is just earning points that I'm not using. Overall, I think it's a great card, and once I can access those points, it will be even better, so I will put it in A tier. Then last but not least, we have Discover, and specifically the Discover It Chrome card. This was the first credit card I ever got as a student in the form of the Discover It Student Chrome, which was then later converted to just the plain Chrome card non-student version. As a beginner card, this card makes a lot of sense. It is easy to get for students new to credit and allows you to earn rewards even at the beginning of your journey. Specifically, this one gets you 2% cash back on gas and restaurants and 1% back on everything else. Now, in the grand scheme of things, further along in my credit card journey, this card is very rarely used because there are so many other cards I have that earn better than it. And ranking this tier list for where I am right now, and not as a beginner, I'm going to say it's a D tier credit card. So that wraps up my list, and you'll notice that there are no F tier credit cards, and the reason for that is I wouldn't keep any F tier cards in my wallet. Even the cards I don't use much, like the Discover It and OG Freedom cards, are only in D tier because even though I don't find them useful, they are no annual fee, so they cost me nothing, and since they are older accounts, they help out my credit score. So with that being said, let me know your thoughts down in the comments if you think I messed anything up. Please consider subscribing and check out this video over here that YouTube thinks you might like as well.